What qualities do you think make a good game designer or writer?
What qualities do I think make a good game designer? Experience of the world, life in general. That's true of any writer. They say write what you know, and the more you know, the more nuanced and subtle and rich your writing is going to be. Have an original thought in your head. Don't just rehash things. Certainly don't get hooked on some sort of dice mechanic or game mechanic and then build a game around that. That's just awful. No, have a good idea for a world setting or a philosophy or a way of playing the game which is different from other stuff that's come before. And certainly do your research and look back at the rich history of the thousands of different game systems and world settings and stuff that have been developed and see what has been done before and build on that. You don't have to reinvent anything in the RPG industry. It's very rare that I see anything which is completely new. But it's still possible. It's still quite possible to come up with something which is revolutionary and new and advances the entire hobby. Case in point is I'm trying to develop a system where everything that you need to play solo or skirmish games or role-playing games is in the same book. So it's not a role-playing book, it's a gaming system. And make solo play and adventure planning and world building a game and a hobby in and of itself that's just as worthy as a role-playing game or a skirmish war game. Because it is. I mean, we need to acknowledge the fact that world building is fun, and it's not a crime to over-world build like you're writing a novel. It's actually quite healthy, and it could lead to you writing novels and doing screenplays and getting millions of dollars from making movies. So we should not discourage this. We should encourage this aspect of the hobby and turn it into a thing in and of itself and integrate it and bring it into the fold for everybody. Because doing that, making world building and encounter and adventure building and dungeon building a solo activity that's fun and enjoyable also makes it a very organic process that familiarizes the person who's running the game with the material because they wrote it. You know, they're not having to go out and buy all these modules, adventure modules. Sorry to say, adventure module writers. I barely really ever use your material other than plundering it for stuff that I'm going to use in my own sandbox games. And I think it's a mistake to over-plan your world building because things could spontaneously happen in the game, like they fall into a random time portal and get teleported 200 years into the future. That's happened in my games. And if you've world built your everything down to the finest detail with all the plots and stuff, you're going to be loath for them to do that. So you're limiting their creative freedom and the direction that the story can go because of your insecurities about not planning ahead. Just learn to wing it, man. Give big shout outs to the Lazy Dungeon Master, Sly Flourish. Definitely check out Sly Flourish and the way of the Lazy Dungeon Master. It is the way. It is the way. That is the way that I roleplay, and that is the way that you should roleplay too. Yeah, don't overplan things. Keep it simple and keep it flexible, and definitely pay attention to your players and what they want. Same thing with game design. Build in character building and teamwork and integrating those characters together as a cohesive whole. Best example of that would be like Traveller. Character building is built into the game. You can't build your character separate from everybody else and then show up at the gaming session with a complete character and expect it to work. It doesn't, because these are individuals who are like 45 years old. They've had a full military career or communications or entertainment or whatever, and now they're all part of a ship crew, basically an organization, a company. So it's built into the game that they have these connections and social backgrounds and contacts and stuff like that, and that's how you run the game. It makes Traveller one of the smoothest games to DM rich corporate sort of plots and stuff, and it always has been from the very outset because that was built into the core of the game. Session Zero is not a new concept. It was around back when almost as soon as new role-playing games started to develop, and Session Zero is very much built into the mechanics of Traveller. A lot of people concentrate on just like the one thing is like it's possible for your character to die before you even play. Well, it's not a matter of before you've even played, because character building is part of the gameplay. So yeah, you just need to change the way you think about things. And I kind of feel a little bit sorry for people who have just come into the hobby during the 5th edition era, because it is so mono-focused on Dungeons and Dragons that you don't have that experience of all the different games that I played and other writers have played over the years. So my first bit of advice would be go out, play other games, as many other games as you can, and it will make you a much better designer of role-playing games in general.